Please start.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode number 2 today on this exciting Thursday of VCTV. I told you, all week, we got double episodes, tons of information, tons of great investors from around the world to share their thoughts, their insights of what they're seeing around different technologies, industries, regions, and bigger picture items from around the world. Today, this is going to be an awesome episode. We've got a packed house. I hope we can get it all in. If not, we're going to run over, so stay tuned. We've got a group of investors that have joined us from all regions around the world to talk about something very, very important. That is impact investing. If you don't know what that is, or you've been thinking about it, you've been looking at how to get started, trying to figure out where to begin, this is the panel for you. We've got the best and the brightest to share those thoughts and insights with you. And before we get started, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. All of the investors today will give you a shout out at the end on where you can find them to continue the conversation as well. And to those that are tuning in as investors, if you'd like to be on a show like today, whether it's around impact investing or other topics, feel free to reach out. Elena and I and the entire LaToken team would be happy to hear from you and find the best place or show for you. Entrepreneurs, this is not just a stage or just a show for investors. This is also an opportunity for you. If you would like to come up onto the virtual stage, share your company and what you're building, we'd love to have you. You get the chance to pitch us as investors one-on-one, get feedback, also have some questions, some Q&A, and then also have the chance to pitch the live audience. What better opportunity than that? All right. Big shout out to Elena and to the entire LaToken team for always making VCTV possible every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, like today, wherever your screen, device, and you may be in the world. With that, I'm Kyle Ellicott, your host. Let's get started. All right, investors, I'm coming around for introductions. Luis, you've been here before. You know how this goes. Short introduction, a little background on yourself.
Hi Kyle, hi Lena. It's a pleasure being with you again. Always such a high level team of speakers and always talking about the topics that are very important. Impact investing for me, it's been in my life since at least 10 years ago. I've been working more focused on the renewable energy space, talking about wind, solar, and now I'm focusing on clean tech because we are facing some new technologies, EV, electric vehicles, all the Tesla euphoria now. But now we have the other component of this market that needs to follow along. That is the energy generation. We gotta grow our installed capacity and not using dirty sources. We got to grow on the renewables. We got to grow on the clean tech side. So this is my my road, learning about the physical side, the wind, the solar, and now learning how we can make it more efficient, not only on the utility scale side, but also on our consumer perspective. So I love impact investing. I love this energy, is the particular piece of the energy, and I have a lot to share here. About all this, my history involved in this specific market.
Wonderful, and welcome back to the show. I know you've talked a little bit here on VCTV about some of your passion and also some of the investments you've made on impact investing areas, including clean tech. And excited to dive a little deeper into that as well. With that being said, next up, a first-time guest here with Elena and I on VCTV. Absolutely a pleasure to have you. Barbara, welcome to the show. If you can, a little introduction, a little background.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Barbara Mendoza from Adobe Capital. Adobe Capital is an impact investing fund. We've been around for a decade now, and we're based in Mexico, but we basically invest in the whole Latin American region. And as we always say, we are sector agnostic because we have made over 12 investments in different sectors: education, clean energy, fintech, etc. So it's a pleasure being here and being able to talk about these important topics.
Wonderful, and it's interesting to have you today because all week on VCTV, Latin America and Mexico have actually been two of the most important regions we've spoken about. All of our guests have brought it up, whether it was from the fintech side, whether it was from education, gaming. So it's exciting to have you, and we're going to dive a little bit more into that around the impact side. Vikram, it's been a whole 15 minutes since I've seen you. So for the few people who may not know you out there, and to our new guests, all jokes aside, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here again on VCTV. If you can, a little introduction, a little background on yourself.
Sure. I'm sitting here in Mumbai in India. We manage $200 million. We invest in Series A, Series B stages. Impact investing for us is basically investing through the SDG lens, Sustainable Development Goals. We look at across sectors, but we look at specific impact across those 17 goals with 169 targets within those 17 goals. So we look at all the aspects, and doesn't matter what sector you are from, as long as you're making impact in one of those goals, we will invest in you.
Wonderful. Excited to dive into what some of those goals are that you're specifically focused on as well. Another guest, first time, Elena. We're just packed with new speakers. This is awesome. Welcome, Victoria. First time joining Elena and I here on VCTV. We're happy to have you. A little intro and a little background.
Hello there. I'm very glad to be here too. My name is Victoria. I'm representing B Value. It's a Polish VC. We are investing on a seed stage. Generally, we are industry agnostic. We are looking for the specific value inside the startups and, of course, in the founder's mission idea. So, yeah, social, like in general, impact investing or anything what is connected to the social benefits, it's something new for us, and it's rather more like my personal approach and love to it. However, we are investing in our last investment was in Yokaja, which is a perfect D2C product, and you can just grab it around. It's brilliant, and it's supporting the women. So anyway, I will just let it go there and check, and I'm just very glad to be here, and gladly will participate in the future conversations. Thank you.
Wonderful, and I'll make sure to get the for the audience. I'll make sure to get the URL from Victoria afterwards. Drop it in the show notes for you so you can check it out as well. Matt, this is great. 3 for 3 right now. Another first-time guest with Elena and I on VCTV. Same for a little intro, a little background.
Yeah, really a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I've seen a lot of your kind of content and things flow through, but I haven't had a chance to actually dive in. So I'm Matt Mckibben. I come from the blockchain space. Traditionally, I got involved in like 2013, became an entrepreneur and investor in a lot of the token sales there, and then founded D10E, the conference ran around the world, and really became interested in the impact that the blockchain was going to have. Founded Decentranet, which is our investment and advisory firm focused on decentralized and transformative technologies with a global impact. Right now, we're focused on different types of some DeFi, some distributed storage. We're working with threefold.io, an investment there. So everyone having a self-sovereign and own your data internet. And then some psychedelic companies. I think that mental health is one of the biggest areas of impact that we're going to be able to see over the next decade. So we've launched Ama Healing, which is a health and wellness company that's bringing people out of their parasympathetic and out of their sympathetic into their parasympathetic nervous systems, as well as Emotional Intelligence Ventures, EI.Ventures, which is going to be producing at scale botanical psilocybin, DMT, mescaline, those types of plant medicines for research and mental health.
Wow. All right. Excited to open up that in just a little bit. Thank you very much. 4 for 4. We're going for it. Sidar, welcome to the show. I've been another first-time guest here on VCTV with Elena and I. A little background, a little intro. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Kyle and Elena. I'm glad to be here. Impact is for Pegasus Evolving Opportunities Fund. That's what I'm the managing partner and founded it in India. Is primarily focused on investing in healthcare, financial technology, and education. And we are primarily focused with developing investee companies with social goals, at the same time developing businesses. And as my good friend Vikram put it earlier, we are also aligned ourselves with the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and we ensure that we are able to get aligned to those goals. But what we look for is, in terms of what we have developed, is a proprietary impact scorecard, basically, which we try to do it in our region in India and drive through that. And we normally look at Series A and early stage, and we really create an ecosystem where we have basically three principles while investing, while operationally sustainable business model for social impact as far as the entrepreneurs go, then especially in these three areas. And we look at investing with entrepreneurs and people who create responsible businesses. That's one of the key stuff that we do. We provide both mentor capital and actual operational mentoring, and that's one of the key aspects of our fund. I mean, we have been, we'll take you through some of the investments we have made and how we have really taken them through the journey of creating a impact in the ecosystem. And we normally see 3 or 4 key primary parameters, which is bottom of the pyramid in terms of the impact in the region, and more women empowerment businesses, and also more driven, very asset light and financial technology driven. I mean, that's essentially the way we look at this entire business. And during COVID, how interestingly we have turned around some of our own portfolio companies to give an impact is what you would see as we go along.
Wonderful. Excited to dive into that as well. And last but not least, Gary, welcome back to the show. It's been a few minutes like Vikram, but nonetheless, a little short intro, a little background for those who may not know you and some of your work in this space outside of just artificial intelligence.
Yeah. So I'm Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 15 startups. I've not had a failure, but I've had some that have really hurt. And I've had to get through them. So I've been skinned up a few times, done an IPO on NASDAQ. Last company I was on the original management team of, Click Software, was sold for $1.35 billion in August of last year. My next unicorn is Eva. Eva is a company I started 4 years ago. It's nearing the $1 billion mark now. One of the billionaires from Russia, David Yang, is my partner in that company. And so on the impact investing side, I've been doing startups for 36 years, very supportive of diversity. So about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I started to focus on the underserved, specifically the Black community. In fact, on my board is one of the board members of the NAACP, which is a top Black group in the United States. And so what we're doing is we're creating 2 funds, a $40 million fund in Atlanta and a $100 million fund in Chicago. What we do at GSD is we curate the best AI companies in the world, whether it's from Poland or India or Mexico, it doesn't matter. We curate them, we package them up, we take operational roles in those companies, we bring them to Silicon Valley, create Delaware corporations, et cetera. But now what we're doing is we're actually working on an agreement in Atlanta and in Chicago to be able to bring those companies there, bring Black executives from Georgia Tech, MIT, folks in a fellowship program to help them better understand entrepreneurship and really create significant role models. One of the Black actors is my partner, Medina, who works for Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey. And we've turned it from the idea stage to reality. You know, I've been very supportive of impact investing with women. In my accelerator, which is with the first in Russia, half of my classes I paid for were women entrepreneurs. So, you know, we're passionate about making a difference. And I'm glad to be here, Kyle. It's great to see you 15 minutes later.
It is absolutely welcome, everybody. Victoria, I see you unmuted. One second. welcome everybody. It's super exciting to have each of you here on the show today. And I want to start out by getting your views on the current state of impact investing and what that means to you. And the reason I want to start there is each of you have very different definitions or focuses on where you're trying to make impact, but there are some intersections, whether it be financial inclusion or financial technology, whether it be education. There are some overlaps, but I would love to get your views of where things are today. Also, there's a lot of confusion, I think, out there in the audience as to what impact investing means versus social capital versus social good, why you would consider or classify your investing style as focusing on impact and what that means. So, Victoria, hold for just one more moment if you can. I'm going to come around to you. Oh, you're okay. All good. Luis, we're going to start with you. We're going to come around to everybody as we just did to get each of your each of your thoughts. Luis, what are you seeing as kind of the current state of impact investing and what that means to you and your investment thesis?
So I believe that impact investing is something that now and more than ever it's very important because it doesn't matter investing and making money and growing big corporations if we don't have a healthy environment to live in. So this is something that is coming to to everyone's agenda, and it needs to be there for good and for real. And when I mentioned for real is that talking about my specific piece of the pie here, that is energy. In Brazil, where I come from, investing in energy projects, it's a broader way of viewing impact investing because most of the projects, they are very far from the big cities. So even if we're just installing wind turbines or solar panels, usually these projects they bring along some investment in a very poor area because we're looking for areas away from big cities. So you bring renewable energy and you bring development to a specific region that I can tell you it's the first company I worked with. It was a wind energy focused company. We had all the lease agreements with the land that we were installing the wind turbines, and about 30% of the lease agreements they were signed with a thumb because people couldn't even sign their names. So this is what I call impact investing because we were bringing income to these people. We were bringing development to this specific region on top of developing renewable energy. So this is my view of impact investing. It's something that we're bringing revenues, we're bringing renewable energy, we're bringing income to the place where we're developing our business. So you are looking, you have a comprehensive view of what you're doing. Not okay, so I'm bringing a nice wind turbine here with renewable energy, but I'm destroying some culture there, some I don't know, some space there. You gotta look all the impact you're making with your investment. And I would like to bring up one specific issue that I'm working with, that is clean tech, because we're seeing a lot of again, when I mentioned a lot of euphoria with the electric vehicles. Everyone buying electric vehicles, and they're thinking that this shift is somehow saving the world. It's kind of impact investing. And just one data here, here in the US, 80% of our energy matrix, it's built on coal, fossil fuel, or nuclear. So when you replace your car, your regular car, with a electric vehicle, you're just improving 20%. That those 20% that of the American energy matrix that comes from a clean source. No, so we gotta understand that along with electric vehicles and all this kind of nice and good looking changes, we got to see what comes along with that. That is impact investing. So not only buying a electric vehicle, but also knowing where your energy comes from, because you're just if you're just replacing your regular car with an electric vehicle, you're just changing the place where the gasoline is being burned. It's not on your engine, but it's somewhere else, in your country, and it is still polluting. So so again, my concept of impact investing, it's having a broader view of what you're doing, and not only have a micro vision of what you're doing and just, oh no, I'm buying a Tesla, that's okay, it's a nice car, it's very beautiful, and I'm saving the world. But where does the energy come from? This is my view of the impact investing.
Absolutely. I see some shaking heads. So I think you're spot on in what you're seeing as well. And Barbara, I want to come to you next and a similar question. I mean, what are you seeing as the current state, and what impact investing means to you and your fund as well?
Yes, now I think that impact investing is more important than ever. With this imminent economic recession, we need to support business models that are oriented towards solving problems for people at the base of the pyramid, who we all know that are the ones that are going to suffer this recession more heavily and for a longer period of time. And of course, also companies that will try to solve these environmental issues that are growing every day. And Adobe Capital, as part of New Ventures Group, we host every year this Latin American Impact Investing Forum in Mérida, where we bring entrepreneurs, investors, capacity builders from all over the world to talk about these issues. And this year's theme was mainstreaming impact. So right now, what we want is to eliminate the concept of impact investing. We would want for all investments to have this impact component. And for us, it means that we try to invest in companies that are not only profitable, that have proven business models that we know that can grow. It's also about companies that have this ingrained business model that helps other people with what they do, and it's just part as any other company, and what they want to do is they want to grow, they want to scale, and that's what impact investing means for us. And this, of course, means changing the paradigms that we are now observing, and it means trying to find better solutions that are both environmentally efficient and that can really solve the most pressing issues for people at the base of the pyramid, be it through education, financial inclusion, or any other issues that might come up and that are becoming even more important nowadays for this post-COVID world, in which the recession is something that will go on for a few years, and in which we are changing the way in which we see the world. For example, education. Right now, we would normally think about it as people going to schools and having classes at a certain center, and now we know how the technological component is ever more so important, because right now that is changing as well. And so it's to be really aware of how the world is changing and what companies need to have this financial support in order to scale their models, and so their impact can be further expanded as well.
And with that, I mean, focusing on Mexico for just a second, or Latin America, I mean, what are you seeing as big activity that's happening locally in the region? I mean, you mentioned education. We talked a lot about fintech as well this week, and just an explosion of new investments and new technologies, and really just a growing, thriving middle class in some cases, where these technologies or these areas are taking place for the first time. What are you seeing in terms of Mexico and what you're looking at right now, and where impact is being applied?
For sure. Yes, I think right now that you were talking about education and that technological component, for example, for some of our portfolio companies, they are oriented towards education. One is, for example, a university. And right now we see the importance of having this technological component. They had the idea and the vision of having online classes, but further down the line in a few years. And with the whole COVID crisis, they realized that it was something that they had to do now. So I think the tendency that we're seeing is that more companies are having to incorporate this technological component. Those companies that we see in the pipeline that already have invested in having a strong online platform, or that they deliver their products through online channels, we see that those are the ones that are growing and that are becoming resilient towards the whole situation. And then those who don't have this component are the ones that are being left behind, and the ones that, when we are trying to see if we should invest in them or not, we have to be more cautious about how they are planning to grow, because we know that now things are different, and the way that they can expand is much more different. So we are seeing the rise of companies that have to solve financial inclusion problems. Also, there is a big issue in Mexico right now about the renewable energy sector, just because at the beginning of this year and at the end of the last one, the whole energy reform was put into question. And I think that is something that is definitely a setback right now. And before last year, we used to see lots of companies that had a very important renewable energy component. And right now we're seeing less of those, just because of this whole uncertainty towards that specific sector.
Sounds like there's some crossover with what Luis was just mentioning as well. So thank you very much, Barbara, for sharing. Vikram, same question to you. What do you see as the current state, and in specific around India as well? But I'll come back to India in a second. But first off, what do you see as the current state of impact investing from your viewpoint?
I think Kyle, you mentioned a very important point in terms of how do you define impact investing, right? So I think, of course, in India, there are lots of opportunities, whether it's healthcare or education or, financial inclusion, agriculture, energy. There are lots of areas. But the way we approach impact investing is we look at, across sectors, specifically through the SDG framework, and there are very specific goals which talk about each of the components, talking about poverty, well-being, or healthcare, or education, or gender equality. So, and attached to those 17 goals, there are 169 targets, which are very well-defined targets towards achieving certain objectives by the year 2030, defined by United Nations. And we translate those objectives into very specific metric for the portfolio companies and ask them to track themselves on those metric. And effectively, you're talking about how the companies are going to improve on those metric. So the objective is to see, irrespective of what specific goals you want to pursue, you may just pick up one goal out of the 17 goals, or you may pick 5. But the ones that you pick for yourself, you have to make sure that you're very serious about those goals. You would have to make sure that you track yourself on those goals and make meaningful difference. And I think the other important thing is that many times there's this perception or misconception that, when you're doing impact investing, you're probably compromising on your returns. Therefore, people have this debate between impact first versus returns first. We believe that, you can actually generate huge returns through impact investing. So in fact, we've done some research, and we looked at, different funds who have actually done impact investing actually even generated much higher returns as compared to otherwise. So we're quite excited about this. In fact, we mapped each of our portfolio companies on certain goals, and we actually track them on each of these goals. And I think that's how we will continue to track ourselves.
And then in India in particular, as we talked with Barbara around what's happening in Mexico and Latin America, I mean, would love to hear kind of your thoughts as what you're seeing around India. We spoke on our last episode in general of what was happening from a venture landscape, but specific to social impact and impact investing as well. I mean, we talked a little bit about education. We talked a little bit about some of the big major investments that have happened, but there's a big shift as well. I mean, we've heard some huge stats around where things have changed in India over the past just 6 to 8 months. But really has been accelerated and was about to change. But again, the digitization hit a lot sooner. So would love to hear what you see happening. And Shadar, I'll come to you on the same question in just a moment, but what are you seeing happen in India?
Yeah, I think something very interesting is happening at, of course, people have heard about what's happening with one of the largest companies in India, Reliance, with their Jio, which has raised $20 billion in the last 2.5 months, led by Facebook, General Atlantic, and quite a few other investors who basically are attracted to the opportunity of going in deep into tier 2, tier 3 cities or rural India. You have 140 million farmers in India. You have over 1 billion cell phones in India now with Aadhaar, the social security numbers in India. You have, more than 1.2 billion people who already have an Aadhaar number. And with that, there are lots of things that you could do with, financial inclusion, even though there are large number of people, almost about 600 to 700 million people who still don't have bank accounts, but they're using their mobile phones to do their banking transactions. So I think if you look at the opportunity in terms of what people could do, even their WhatsApp account, now people are transacting to their WhatsApp, and a lot of social commerce is happening in India. So the opportunity is huge. The size is just mind-boggling.
Spot on, and that is replicating to what you said earlier on our previous show of just what's happening in general in India. So thank you, Vikram. Matt, I want to come to you next. Same question. We'll get to the blockchain follow-up, but just in general, what do you see happening in impact investing, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so impact investing, I've always kind of viewed it as something where you have a business model, and if you can tweak that business model in some way that can actually benefit large amounts of people or benefit others that aren't necessarily being involved in the transaction, you've got business that can be impact oriented. My personal, perspective and what we work on in general is things that lend sovereignty to other people. So blockchain give digital identity, they allow for financial inclusion, they allow for investments, democratization of investing in finance in terms of like crowdfunding, but also in like the sovereignty of like mind and finance. So we really like to work on, we have like all these other operating systems and software out there. We like to work on the human operating system as well, which is really, really important. And upgrading that. So I think if we can solve a lot of those issues and bring people back into a positive, mental health state, a lot of societal issues will also be solved.
Absolutely. And from the blockchain angle, I mean, where is blockchain really being applied around impact investing? And I know, Luis and Barbara had mentioned climate change. I've tracked a number of projects that have been working in that space, but from your viewpoint, where is blockchain really playing a role around impact, and how can it play maybe a bigger role?
So supply chain, basically anything you want to be able to track and have a permanent record of that, there's billions of people on the planet that don't have financial services. There's billions of people that don't have identity or digital identity and no way of tracking and having a history. Land, I like to talk about land registration, and that's going to be a huge one, being able to actually know that you own that. And then, in the climate thing, I like the tracking and tracing of like carbon credits, but really like the positive impact of like regenerative agriculture, for example, like Regen Network is a really great one that's going to be tracking how much have you actually improved the land and sequestered carbon there. So yeah, identity, ownership, and supply chain is a really big one, knowing where everything came from, and then being able to say, I don't want to purchase things that I know have come from something around the world that I don't agree with in my ethical framework for purchasing. So we all have the power of our money, and voting with our money is really important. And so when we can really see the entire supply chain of something, we can really choose, or we can have algorithms that choose for us of like, don't let me purchase something that was built in a sweatshop somewhere where the people aren't, or there's environmental degradation, or don't let me own a piece of gold that was put in extracted from a mine that had poor environmental protections.
Yeah, it gives people the power of choice, right? Along with transparency and knowledge, which goes well with what everyone else has said. So thank you go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
And our governance systems too. I mean, just putting our states or our entities and having the transparency there, our voting systems, I think will be a massive one in the next 4 to hopefully 10 years, less than that. But like, we're in the 21st century and we're still talking about punching paper ballots. And we have a technology that allows for us to permanently record anonymously what someone did. And so creating those systems around the world, not just in the United States, but around the world, and having fair and transparent democracy and elections.
Yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, we're only halfway through, but so far we've already heard a ton around what is the next, decade ahead going to look like, and a lot of this impact investing, or a lot of the investing around these areas, is going to really transform the decade ahead and well beyond that. So it's very exciting. Sadar, I want to come to you next. What are you seeing as, again, the state of state of impact investing, and what impact investing means to you? And then Gary and Victoria will follow.
Thank you. How we assess impact, as I would like to start off, is that what we monitor is what we measure. What we measure and go ahead. So, and what we look at in our investing, who does it affect? The bottom of the pyramid, the geography. We have a clear divide between the needs in terms of impact investments in the urban area, vis-a-vis the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, which even Vikram mentioned. And given the huge digital transformation, I mean, look at it. I mean, with Zoom and all the VCs that you're doing and the VTVs you're doing, Zoom has gone up by 73 million users, incremental users in India itself in terms of internet. So that's something which we are looking at very clearly. And with COVID-19, what has happened is, while our impact sectors have been financial inclusion with fintech and education and healthcare, with COVID-19, we saw a clear shift in terms of the economic crisis, which has come in because of the lockdowns and because of the health scare. And we said that employment is one of the, also the SDG goals, became much more focused. And given the digital transformation, coupled with employment as a goal to create responsible businesses. So any company where we thought we could make an impact. For example, we have made a couple of investments in these areas where we have measured, and we are actually a tool to measure, saying that whether the impact on the employment status at the tier 2, tier 3 level of the rural areas. So we have made a couple of investments along with some European funds in India. And that have very clearly shown that directionally we are right. And it's made quite a bit of progress. And given the last 6 months and maybe the next 6 months to come, I think as we still have time to recover from this devastating impact of COVID-19, this transformational, there has to be a little bit more focused in the impact investing cycle as we do, how we assess the impact, how we monitor the impact. And actually you have to clearly understand the needy versus the, for example, some of our portfolio companies, we have kept a lot of tranche money for second tranche of investments because they probably require it during this time. Because what happens is during this time, whether I'm talking about a healthcare company which is actually doing very well. It is an emergency response system. I mean, in few of the cities that we have launched, and you're taking it to more cities given the pandemic that has broken out, and it's actually doing well. At the same time, it's creating huge impact. And in India, typically, unlike the US or the European nations, our response system has not been very high in terms of emergency response. So, fully fitted ambulances with, connected to the by digital technology, so that your response is reduced to 20 minutes to an accident site. And you're able to really care or create that ecosystem to really help people to. So that's one of the fine investments that we have done. And that's actually doing extremely well. And we are encouraging it more. So we have kept more money to ensure that they grow. The second one in the employment, which is one of the SDG goals. And so some small shift is it's a skill development company. So we see that as India progresses, on one hand, you have extreme, like with my friend Vikram mentioned, or you mentioned, in terms of the digital transformation, you've got Reliance Jio investment from Facebook. At the same time, you've got very literate English-speaking population. So also skills and thereby employment for close to 60% of the population. So they may be basic graduates, but there are a lot of engineers who don't know coding. I mean, they study coding, but finally when it comes to job interview, they do something else. So it's about the skill in which they perform. So we have invested in a skill company, which is in the top 30. And we believe that we have got a ratio of close to 70% of people getting converted into jobs. So we're creating employment, and that's an impact. So we look at geography, the bottom of the pyramid, the employment as a criteria. So we have made investment in education company, which is also skill development, and we are also helping universities in terms of skill content, and in terms of healthcare, that was the other thing which came very well. And I think this COVID-19, the investment in startup ecosystem has clearly halved in terms of people wanting to take risk at this point of time. So this is where you really step in as a venture capital impact fund, and we are clearly committed to impact and investing in responsible business. So, and given the country's expanse, and given that 10% of people, there's a lot of liquidity lying around the sidelines, it's our job to ensure that we are able to channel these money into the right investments as we see. And I strongly believe that in India, and more particularly in Asia, in all these countries, and we have impact as a profitable investment. It's just not investing in impact and responsible businesses can really create healthy returns. There are funds which have thrown up returns close to 83% IRR in terms of impact investments, like OMIDR, if you can take, and if you really look at it, creating a sachet of shampoo for the bottom tier people, but there is an aspiration to use, but you create a scale and geography, and that's a great investment. It also translates into huge value. So I think impact, if you measure and monitor and have a proprietary scorecard, I mean, each fund has its own way, or each country will have its own way. For example, we have also I have made few investments in renewables too, because I thought that was the need, and those are doing well at this point in time. And we intend to grow the renewable space a little bit more, especially the solar rooftops, solar panels, and also the ground mounted ones, but more so in tier 2, tier 3 institutional framework. I think as you navigate and pivot your model of impact, it's very important for us to remain focused to ensure that businesses behave respond towards the impact parameter that you have set for them. So for example, we have an impact investment where we have created a metric, which is essentially to monitor the number of employment generation that we give to artisans, the handicraft guys in the rural areas, in the tier 3 and tier 4. And we have set up in our term sheet saying that we would monitor it at every point in time when we release further amounts of money to the company.
So you're actually, and I apologize for interrupting. So when you're making investments, you're actually building some of these pieces and these clauses into the term sheet, which is typically not done, but it seems like it's working for you, which is great, and helps further the idea of making sure that impact happens. And Sudhar, I want to pause right there because we do have Gary and Victoria we have to get to as well, and we're coming to the top of the hour. So Victoria, to you, I want to make sure you get your thoughts in. What are you seeing as the current state? And then I do have a follow-up for you, but what are you seeing as the current state of impact investing?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to thank Gary because from his previous pitch, it was very inspiring and very, very nice and great. And yeah, anyway, going back to me, I think that in our industry, we tend a lot to concentrate only on the financial models and business and scaling. And in terms of the impact investing, what we have to concentrate more are the emotions, the people, and the fact that there is an actual social impact. So following the thoughts of Vikram, I do believe that the only way of truly properly investing in the like having this social impact investing is in the coordination with the third sector organizations, right? So in case we're talking about the UNESCO, UNICEF, in case we are talking about the endowment funds, the probability that this amount of funds which are currently, they are also raised, there is also a fundraising process going on. There are a lot of help which has been already delivered. There are additional systems which are being constructed, maybe additional systems which will allow to make the greater democracy state, right? Because we know the current situation all around Europe, especially the Eastern Europe countries, where it's the responsible technology can lead to the huge democratic changes. The other question is how to monetize them, and we have seen the other examples, which are all around the world. And I believe that regardless what we are doing, we have to look at the amount of the money which we invest and look at the efficiency which we're getting from it. There is a very specific tool and the set of tools which we are currently using. We have not invested directly into any social impacts, as over here it's not as clearly defined as in Mexico or in India. I think you guys are doing a great job, so I'm actually learning a lot while being next to you. But what we were specifically looking at is more the market of Africa, and especially the unbanking industries, the industries where you can do the very basic innovations which will change the human lives. However, not to invest into the behavioral changes which we know are very expensive, but rather move towards the benefits of the local societies and founding the local founders. So
I love it. And a quick follow-up, and I think you've already answered, but from you guys are based in Warsaw, in Poland. What's happening around social impact in maybe not just Poland, but greater Europe as well, if there's anything you're tracking or seeing?
I do think that in this region, it's not as spreadly developed, right? I'm trying to really be polite in this industry. For me personally, here it was quite hard to find the people who are having the same thoughts or ideas, and I'm highly engaged in the third sector and volunteering services. So, but this is something what I brought from the US, for instance. But it's quite new over here. There are a lot of the financial support from the government, including the donations. So a lot of the funds, including ours, are co-financed by the government. So the typical investment would be like around 20 to 80. So let's say 20% is private and 80 is public. So it's quite huge. And regardless that we are normally investing around the companies in Europe in order to make it more sustainable and more visible for us. But yeah, let's go back to the impact investing and to the any questions I will be gladly answering. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, as you said, I'm learning, you're learning, I'm learning, we're all learning. This is absolutely wonderful. Thank you all so far for sharing everything. Gary, to you, and then we're gonna get to the lightning round. I've got a few questions for everyone, but to you, what are you seeing as a current state?
Well, I mean, look where we are today. Sridhar has said, look where we are with Zoom. I mean, I told you earlier, I'm talking to companies from all over the world, from Africa, from Egypt, from Israel, from everywhere, from Poland, and from Russia, from the Ukraine, from Belarus. But think about it. Think differently. The reason I created GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, was exactly for this, because I didn't believe that opportunities were democratically offered to people from around the world. So access to capital, access to talent, access to sales and market, I didn't believe it. And I had proven it when I was in Russia with Startup Academy, because people said, oh, you can't do it in Russia, you're American, it's never gonna work. So I started the first accelerator and it worked. And by the way, people were very nice. And I had people from all over the world come. So what happens today is we've now have the means, the technology to make a dent in the universe. Now is an opportunity, because now we're forced for the digital transformation to be able to raise money, to be able to pitch, to be able to get to partners through opportunities like Zoom. It's really simple. So now, of course, I invest in the Black community. You know, we're doing the $40 million fund in Atlanta, the $100 million fund in Chicago. Absolutely. But the model is the same, because of access was the same. There was not, the democratization of opportunity was not there. But I believe intellectual capacity is spread. So that's why shows just like this, Kyle, and being able to get the word out I mean, that's what we're doing. By the way, what we do is we find the best companies in the world. We curate those companies, take them out, just like I did in Israel, just like I did with the Russian company, and we turn them into billion-dollar companies. And we've done it. So it's not like thinking about a unicorn. We've done it. We've done the IPOs. That's what we do. I think there needs to be more of that done. And these kind of venues, just like you have here, Kyle, and the kind of person you are and the kind of people we have on the show are the people can get shit done. So I love it. And Victoria, thanks for the compliment.
Thank you as well, Gary. That's very kind of you. And all, again, appreciate all of the thoughts and insights. This is such a big topic that we should all be concerned about, and we should all be thinking and all be talking and all be investing in if and where we're able to. And really, all the thoughts and insights that you've shared have really educated us, and not just me, but also the audience, on where things are currently. So we are at the top of the hour. We're running slightly over, and Elena hasn't stopped me yet, so I think we're okay. So I want to come around for closing thoughts. And in this closing thought, I would love to hear your advice to those that are looking to make investments in this space, and maybe where one particular area of opportunity that you see that they can start. And unfortunately, because we are a little bit over, it's got to be quick, but quick piece of advice and maybe one opportunity people should start paying attention to if they're looking to begin in impact investing. And we'll come around, and then we'll get, and then also where everyone can find you. So advice, opportunity, where can everyone find you? 3 simple things. Luis, advice, area, opportunity, where can everyone find you online?
My advice is impact investing is simple. Impact investing is providing people with the most basic needs. I was watching Bill Gates' Mind, wherever, on Netflix, and he's investing a ton of money just developing a toilet, a self-sustainable toilet. So this is the most basic need. So impact investing is about providing people with the most basic needs. My advice is, I think it's very sexy. It's very interesting talking about a lot of technological breakthroughs and some nice digital platforms. But one thing that it's not going to bring you those amazing multiples, but it's going to be way less risky. It's working with infrastructure, energy, for example, providing energy to this bunch of electric cars that are coming out, connection. We're talking about education platforms, but in Brazil, they're talking about digital education platforms. But in Brazil, less than half of the children in school, they have access to internet. So, it's not going to be useful, a nice educational platform, if you don't have access to internet. So my advice, a little defensive investment, go for infrastructure. It's also impact, it's also invest, and you're gonna lay all the ground for all these amazing technologies to be built on over.
Absolutely, and I apologize to cut you off. We're running really over, so we gotta all be quick. So where can everyone find you?
LinkedIn, Luis Freitas. I'll be glad to connect to whoever wants to talk and exchange ideas.
Thank you. Barbara, to you. Advice, opportunity, where can everyone find you online?
Yes, my advice is to start now. Sometimes we want to find that perfect company that has, lots of opportunity to grow and few challenges, but it's to really start now. No company is perfect, but right now there are lots of opportunities and lots of companies that have great ideas in mind, and then they just need this push, this economic push, in order to make those ideas become a reality. And I think in terms of opportunity right now, healthcare is definitely growing. There are lots of technology-based solutions around healthcare, around COVID, around other types of preventive, companies that want to prevent, cancer, or other types of diseases. So I think that's a great opportunity. And you can find me as Barbara Mendoza in LinkedIn, or as Barb7M in Instagram. Thank you.
Absolutely. And real quick, sorry, Sidar, please go on mute because you jumped over. Barbara, where can everyone find you online again?
Yes, as Barbara Mendoza in LinkedIn, and as Barb7M in Instagram.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Matt, to you. Advice, opportunity, where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, I think with COVID, with the Great Reset, there's never been a better time to invest in these types of impactful businesses. So you're going to invest, find the vertical, find the things that you want to improve the world on, spread it around. The opportunity, I think, is scaling out the kind of the services that we take for granted, maybe in the Western world, to the rest of the world, the rest of the population. So like those governance services, and then the mental health stuff that I mentioned. So I like those are my areas that I think are some of the most disruptive, and the ability to absolutely connect and financially and emotionally and all of that. And then find me, dissenternet.com is our website. Find me on LinkedIn, Matt Mckibben, or Matt_Mckibben on Twitter. So that's great.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sidar. Where can same thing, advice, opportunity, and where can everyone find you online? Super quick, please. And you're on mute.
Me on mute. Thanks.
There you go.
I keep, okay. Given the COVID-19's devastating impact, I think primary would be employment and employment generation opportunities in terms of impact businesses. That's how I would really look at it. There's no big difference in the way we have looked at business. We'll continue to look at it in terms of the enterprise, the skill. And for me, it's always the entrepreneur who actually has an impact objective. It doesn't mean that he has to run his business free. He has to make money, but his impact objective and social responsibility are key. And my focus areas, again, would be healthcare, financial inclusion with fintech in mind, healthcare with health tech in mind, and education with edutech online, given the digital explosion going on. And where you can find me on LinkedIn as Sridhar Narayan or Sridhar N. And my Twitter handle is Shri2314. And I'm always available.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. Advice, opportunity, where can everyone find you?
So, I mean, this digital transformation has created an incredible opportunity for all of us. What I can say is lead with your heart, and the business opportunities will follow. Stay positive, stay optimistic, and visualize where you want to go, and you can make it happen. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, at LinkedIn. I'd be happy to hear from you. And stay positive and stay safe.
And get shit done. Vikram, advice, opportunity, where can everyone find you?
Advice, I think impact and returns go hand in hand. You can actually measure impact through a proper framework. Opportunity, I think India is an opportunity. Go into any sector, India is hot right now for investments. And where to find me, LinkedIn, Vikram Gupta at ivcapventures.com.
And last but not least, Victoria, close us out. Advice, opportunity, where can everyone find you?
Well, advice is a very clear message based on a problem which exists. This is very important. Opportunity, the emerging markets, especially try to look for the co-founder from that market in case you're from the US or you're European and you're trying to develop and scale new product there. And for me, it's Victoria Monska on LinkedIn. Always glad.
There you go. There you have it. Thank you all so much, investors and individuals, from joining us from around the world. Really appreciate all the thoughts, the insights. And as was a common theme today, it is now. Time is now to get started. If you haven't already started looking at this space, whether it's at a general of impact investing or some of the key areas that were mentioned in terms of industries and technologies today, the time is now. I think that was the common theme everyone mentioned, and everyone is available and giving you their contact information to continue this conversation online. So if you're curious, you want to learn more, you want to co-invest, you want to reach out and learn more about what they're doing in their respected regions or technologies or industries around the world, here you have it. You've got some of the best in doing it. Take the opportunity and jump in. And to your audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, do please click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to be on a show like today as an investor and share your thoughts, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. As an entrepreneur, to get on the virtual stage and have the chance to pitch us and our live audience, again, reach out. Elena, the LaToken team, and myself would love to hear from you and find a great opportunity for you to do so. And I'm Kyle Ellicott, your host. A big thank you very much. A big thank you to Elena, and to the entire LaToken team for always making VCTV possible every single day, multiple times a day, here for you and for all of us to come together on this new exciting virtual stage, as Gary has mentioned as well. And again, thank you to our panelists and our investors. Make sure you check out each of them online along with their funds and get started, or as Gary says, get shit done. Last but not least, we'll be back here tomorrow on VCTV with just a little bit more to close out your week on what's happening in the world of venture capital, technologies, markets, and everything else in between around the world. I'm Kyle Ellicott, your host. You can find me online everywhere. Thank you, Gary. At Kyle Ellicott on all social medias. Everyone take care. Thank you, Vikram. Thank you, Barbara. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you.